What's up, basketball fans? Welcome to the Ratch Report. It is time to do a predictions for the full NBA standings. So I'm going to be going through each conference, starting with the Eastern Conference, start from the 15th spot and make my way up to the first spot here. So let's get started in today's video. So 15th place in the Eastern Conference is a team that a lot of people, I think they keep putting the Wizards here. I don't see. I'm actually going to put the Brooklyn Nets here. The reason being is when you're looking up and down the roster, they have some veterans, but where's the offense coming from? Is Cam Thomas all of a sudden going to become, a 30-point scorer? I don't know about that. He does that because he's able to come off the bench, shoot a bunch of shots. But now, if he's the number one or two option, I don't see him doing that well personally, efficiently, anyways. 14th here, guys, I'm going to put the Washington Wizards. Now, the reason I put the Wizards here is people seem to forget the Wizards are a bad team, but they still have Kyle Kuzma, they still have Jordan Poole, and they acquired Malcolm Brogdon, and they have Jonas Valanciunas as well. So for as much as we believe the Wizards are going to be bad, they still have a decent amount of veterans on that team. It's not as if the team is completely full of rookies. Bilal Coulibaly should get better as well. So, I mean, Corey Crispert, decent role player as well, So I still have them a little bit above the 15th spot. 14th spot goes to the Wizards. This is where it starts to get a little bit tricky because the Pistons did make some moves. I hate putting the Pistons here because Tobias Harris is going to add some wins. Hopefully, Cade Cunningham is healthy. And just when you look at the roster, too, I feel like they've improved a decent amount. I don't think it's enough to, have a massive leap. Again, we see this time and time again where teams look like they look great on paper, but then all of a sudden you don't really see it translating on the court. So the 13th spot in the Eastern Conference is going to belong to the Detroit Pistons. Now, moving on to the 12th spot here. This also is a little bit tricky because you could go a few spots here. You could either go the Toronto Raptors, you could go Charlotte Hornets, you could go the Chicago Bulls. Now, many people are assuming the Chicago Bulls are going to retool and just blow it up. That's very likely the scenario, and that's very realistically going to happen when you think about Zach LaVine. He's been in trade rumors for quite some time. You think of Nikola Vucevic. He's older. Doesn't really make sense to keep him, but again, I'm going to put the Chicago Bulls here. I will say one thing though for all of the Zach LaVine slander. I'm not a Zach LaVine fan, but I think he's going to have a bounce back season. Kobe White's good. Also Josh Giddey, he's gotten a lot of hate, understandably so, because of his off-court allegations. I think he's going to have a really good season with the Bulls as well. They finally have a pass first point guard as well. So it'll be interesting to see how kind of that roster works out there. But I still have the Chicago Bulls, assuming they will likely blow it up or at least trade one of Nikola Vucevic and Zach LaVine. I got them in the 12th spot. Here, I have to put the Charlotte Hornets. I was debating my Toronto Raptors, but the reason I say Charlotte Hornets, you look at LaMelo Ball, the guy's never healthy. He's never taken basketball, at least has held him a little bit of a serious note. I know he's had some ankle injuries, but just when you look at his antics off the court driving, you've seen those videos of him running red light with his fancy cars. I don't know what he's going to do, but he has to be a little bit more serious about his NBA career. I know it sounds ludicrous saying that for such a talented all-star player. He's, I don't know if he's been an all-star, he's all-star caliber player, though. Let's say leave it at that. But I got the Charlotte Hornets at the 11th spot. You could probably switch this up with the Toronto Raptors as well, again, depending on LaMelo's health. With the 10th, I got my Toronto Raptors here. Their starting lineup is actually pretty good. When you take into consideration Jakob Poeltl, you got Scotty Barnes, RJ Barrett had a good, FIBA tournament, Olympics as well with Canada. And then you got Emmanuel Quickly, and the two spot is likely going to go to Grady Dick. Now, the only issue is that team defense isn't great. When you look at their starting lineup, who are the two strong defenders? Jakob Poeltl, Scotty Barnes, and the rest, not so much. And even the bench, right? There's a lot of question marks as to where the defense is going to come off the bench. Davion Mitchell is good. Is he good enough to anchor entire bench defense? I don't know about that. I got them at the 10th spot here, making the play-in tournament. Wouldn't surprise me if they go a little bit lower. One injury to Jakob, and honestly, this team is screwed big time. All right, moving on to the 9th spot here. I'm actually going to put the Miami Heat here. The reason is Jimmy Butler misses a lot of games. And just when you take into consideration, yes, Hawkins is going to improve. Tyler Hero. I don't like the Terry Rozier fit, man. Like, people and GMs need to understand this around the league, that as weird as this may sound, the league has started to trend more towards shoot first point guards rather than pass first point guards. But when you already have Tyler Hero there, you have Hawkins there, you got Jimmy Butler there. I don't know how it makes sense with Terry Rozier. They're very obviously eager to acquire him. I don't really like the fit there, man. I'm going to be honest. I do like Kel'el Ware, who they drafted. I think their defense is going to get better, having a backup for Bam Adebayo as well. But for the time being, I got Miami at the 9th spot. Now, 8th spot here should be a no-brainer. Atlanta Hawks. I think finally getting rid of DeJounte Murray is going to do wonders for Trae Young. Again, similar to Zach LaVine. A lot of fans need to realize when you're playing with another player and you're a score first guard, you can't necessarily play your game. That's why Trey Young struggled a little bit. He's still an amazing, amazing scorer. He can get you buckets. On top of that, I'm expecting big, big things from Jalen Johnson. Onyeka Conway, is he starting? What's going on there with Clint Capella? We don't know. But Zachary Risache, um, interesting. Could be interesting. Let's see how his rookie season goes. But overall, I like the Atlanta Hawks. I think they got a decent roster there as well. Now the seventh spot. Again, this is going to be a little bit of a hot take here. People won't like this. I'm putting the Orlando Magic here. The reason being, I'm not saying their last season was a fluke, but it was one of those magical seasons, no pun intended, where Orlando Magic just had a lot of wins. It was a really nice run for them. But considering how strong the top of the East got, I don't know if they'll win as many games. Also, just considering outside of France and Paulo, they're obviously going to improve, but then there's a lot of question marks, right? Anthony Black, how's he going to be? Markel Fultz is not back with the Magic, so again, it's a lot of it is Magic success will be depending on some of their young guys. Jed Howard, is he going to get minutes? Is he going to produce at all? That's the question. You got a lot of guys that may not produce all that well, right? They're relying a lot on the young guys. Obviously, again, besides Paulo and Frank Wagner, they're going to do great, but the rest of the roster, I don't know. For the sixth spot here. I have to put the Indiana Pacers. I'm tempted to put them higher because the reason I put the Pacers above the Orlando Magic, for those wondering, simple reason. When you take a look at Indiana, their roster, guys like Andrew Nembhard are going to improve. You got Benedict Mathurin coming back from injury. He didn't play with them for the second half of the season. He was out for the season. And they should give some minutes to Juris Walker as well at the backup. I don't know if they're going to play him center, power forward, whatever they're doing with him. They got to get him some minutes as well. I will say, though, losing Jalen Smith in free agency is a big loss for a team like the Pacers. He did provide a little bit of rim protection, not a ton, but you know what? Losing a backup center like that can shoot threes as well might be a little bit of a loss. But again, they're going to have Pascal Siakam the entire season. Hopefully, a healthy Tyrese Halliburton as well. Now, the fifth spot here. You know what? I'm gonna put the Philadelphia 76ers. Again, might be a little bit of a hot take. Originally, I didn't have them this low, but the reason I do this is when you take into consideration Paul George is coming in, you would think that would make the Philadelphia 76ers a lot better. But when you take into consideration, it does take time for a lot of players like this, especially because there's already Joel Embiid there. There's Tyrese Maxey there as well. It's going to take that team some time to really gel together, but also just injury histories as well, right? When you take into consider Joel Embiid, how many games is he missing? He's getting older. Paul George has a terrible history of missing games as well the last 2, 3 seasons. Let's not forget about him. So, again, considering those two guys, injury issues, Tyrese Maxey is good. Is he good enough to will the 76ers into a top 3 or 4? Not necessarily. So, again, I want to give that team about 10, 20 games before Paul George, Joel Embiid, Tyrese Maxey really start to work well with each other. So that's the reason I have the Philadelphia 76ers at the fifth spot. Now, moving on to the fourth spot here, I'm going to put the Cleveland Cavaliers. I know Cleveland Cavaliers are one of those teams that didn't make a ton of move. We don't know what's happening with Isaac Okoro. But the thing is, Donovan Mitchell is going to be Donovan Mitchell. Jarrett Allen, excuse me, is going to be Jarrett Allen. Evan Mobley is going to be Evan Mobley, even if he hasn't improved a ton. They're still good. They got good amount of defense there, So Darius Garland was injured for a good amount of season last year. They're a good regular season team. They know their roles really well. Donovan Mitchell is going to be the first option. Darius Garland's kind of playing off of him. I don't really like that fit personally, if you ask me. I personally think they should get rid of, obviously, one of them, most likely Darius Garland. But again, kind of a weird position to be in for Cleveland. But I still think they're a good regular season team. Now we got the Milwaukee Bucks at the number 3 spot in the Eastern Conference. Again, Milwaukee is a little bit on the older side when you take a look at their center, Brook Lopez. You also take into consider Damian Lillard is getting older as well. He said he didn't get to practice a ton last season, so Milwaukee should have a better run in the playoffs. But again, regular season, I do see them resting a lot. Chris Middleton has had injury issues as well. Giannis, they definitely want to rest as well. Their goal isn't to win, and be necessarily the number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference. The goal is to be healthy when the playoffs come around. We saw what happened last year during the playoff run. So I think the goal for Milwaukee should be to be healthy. Now, number 2 here, I'm putting the New York Knicks. When you take into consideration, again, last year's standings, I think it's going to be similar, a little bit similar to Philadelphia. Mikal Bridges isn't going to be the Mikal Bridges he was on the Brooklyn Nets. When you come in, and not to mention Julius Randle will be back as well. Yeah, way too many ball dominant players. Julius Randle is just he doesn't care about passing the ball. No offense. I know he gets a lot of assists, but he's someone that wants the ball. He's not going to shy away from letting McHale take the number two spot as on the offensive side. He's going to take it and just be a bulldog. That's how Julius Randle likes to play. And I think there are going to be a few issues there, just offensively, anyways. Figuring out, Jalen Brunson. You got Mikal Bridges, and then with Julius Randle there as well. And also they did lose Isaiah Hartenstein, which I think is kind of a big deal. Mitchell Robinson's injury prone. Maybe they played Julius Randle at the five. I don't know. I mean, they possibly could. They got enough defense with OG and McHale there. Maybe they played Josh Hart at the two, so they do have enough intriguing options. They could put Precious Achiuwa as well at the five. We'll see what happens. Ultimately, the reason I got the Knicks there is because the Boston Celtics. The Boston Celtics finally got that, the weight off their shoulder. They know who they are now. They won a championship. They don't have to prove it that the G's can't win together. They have won it already. Again, the Gold, they're just such a dominant team. They're going to win a lot. So that's my Eastern Conference standings. Let's move on to the West here. And I'm not going to like this, guys. I'm going to be honest. I don't like doing the Western Conference. This is going to be so tricky, but I don't want to put the Portland Trail Blazers here because I do expect them to improve, but I don't expect them to improve that much. Again, Portland Trail Blazers are a young team. I can't justify putting any other team below them. I got the Portland Trailblazers, excuse me, at the 15th spot here. At the 14th spot, you almost have to put the San Antonio Spurs. Again, I can't justify putting any other team this low. The West is absolutely loaded with talent. I mean, 1 through 10, 11, 12, if you want to say. 14th spot, I got the San Antonio Spurs. Again, they will improve, but similarly, I just don't know. I don't know about Spurs making a huge leap. I do believe Chris Paul is going to have a tremendous effect on some of the young guys. Obviously, Wemby is going to improve as well. They got some nice pieces there as well. They drafted Stephon Castle. That should be nice. But depending on a rookie like Stephon to make, the Spurs that much better, again, I'm not obviously taking into consideration how good Wemby is going to be. I don't know about this. So the 13th spot, I got to put the Utah Jazz. Like I said, too much talent. I can't justify putting any other team this low. I gotta go with the Utah Jazz. Now, this is where it gets really tricky. Like I can't put most of the teams here, but unfortunately, I'm gonna have to put someone here. And unfortunately, that team isn't going to have to be the Golden State Warriors. It's kind of sucks to see Curry going out this way. I hated the Warriors super teams just like you guys, but seeing Curry kind of be there, Klay Thompson's gone. Draymond's probably going to have injury issues as always. Curry's not going to be as healthy either, considering he played in the Olympics, but he's also older as well, right? He misses a ton of games in the regular season, and the Warriors aren't the Warriors without him. So I got them at the 12th spot. 11th spot. This is really hard. It is really challenging to put any sort of team here. This is might be a little bit of surprise to a ton of people. I'm actually going to put the Sacramento Kings here. I don't like the DeMar DeRozan addition. I know what they're trying to do, add a little bit more firepower, but it's similar to how some of the other teams, you can't have so many ball dominant players on one team. And I don't know why general managers or why NBA teams around the league do not understand this. De'Aaron Fox works great. You also got Domantas Sabonis, but now you added another player that can't really shoot threes. How does this work? If they added Klay Thompson, that would be a completely different story. Now you got Klay shooting a lot of threes, but they didn't. They didn't have room, and I don't know if Klay wanted to even sign there. But you got again, DeMar can't shoot threes. He also needs a ball in his hand. De'Aaron Fox can shoot a little bit of threes, but he also needs a ball in his hands. Domantas Sabonis can't shoot threes, occasionally does, but again, he needs a ball in his hands too. So how is this going to work? I mean, there's only one basketball to go around. So again, they got the Murray kid there too, who's going to be solid for them, but they really should have prioritized Murray here. It kind of feels like a desperation move, and I don't know if this duo is really going to work. And on top of that, their defense needs to improve. And what did they do? They got out and went out and got DeMar DeRozan. They got rid of some other guys like Harrison Barnes as well. Not saying Harrison Barnes is better than DeMar by any means, but I don't know how bad their defense is not going to look good this year. Number 10. Number 10. Who can I put here? This is tough, man. This is hard. This is where it starts to get very challenging because I mean 1 through 5, there's probably 1 through 4, even you could probably interchange those teams anyways. 5 to 7, you could interchange a lot of those teams. I don't want to put the Houston Rockets here because I feel like they are going to improve a ton. They got a lot of young guys that are steadily improving. Jalen Green looked amazing to end the season and the second half of the season. Alperen Sengun's going to be an all-star. He should be next season. He's improving. Then you got the good vets in Fred VanVleet and Dylan Brooks. But you know what? I can't justify putting any other team here. I'm going to have to put the Houston Rockets. It was a little bit easier last season when we had the Grizzlies without Ja Morant. But I don't know. Ninth spot here. This also gets very funky. You know what? I'm gonna put the Pelicans here, man. I know a lot of people are high on them. I don't like the Pelicans for one reason, guys, and hear me out before you go to the comment section. You just saw DeJounte Murray and Trae Young not work together, and the Pelicans' logic is, hey, let's acquire DeJounte Murray and pair him up with another ball dominant guard and CJ McCollum. I felt like they should move off of CJ McCollum for quite some time. Even in the beginning of last season, I don't think Brandon trading Brandon Ingram is the best decision. I know he wants a lot of money. They should actually be trying to get rid of CJ McCollum first and most importantly. But again, his contract, I don't know if anyone wants to take his contract. I don't know if they want to move off of his contract. Pelicans have a lot of good young guys. Trey Murphy, man. They need to give some of these guys more touches as well. But again, they acquired DeJounte. I really like DeJounte. Don't get me wrong here, but they need to move off of CJ McCollum ASAP. Zion Williamson did play 70-ish games last season, which is great for him. But is he going to be healthy? There's always questions about his health. And most importantly, they don't have a center. Yes, they signed Daniel Tice. But who's their backup? Yves Missy, like it's their the center position is really questionable. Yes, I'm not saying GV was the best defender at his position by any means, but I don't know. It's going to be a weird fit with Daniel Tice being there, and just the center position has a big, big hole there for the Pelicans. So I'm not buying the stock on the Pelicans. A lot of people seem to be. I've been watching a lot of videos on standings. They have them as high as six. I don't see it. I really don't see it. Number eight here, you almost have to put the Los Angeles Lakers here. Similar to a lot of teams, they have a lot of injury issues as well. They're not going to improve, guys. They're not going to improve. They're really not going to improve. AD at his age isn't improving. LeBron, it's a miracle if he's able to maintain his play from last season. Again, no shade on LeBron. It's amazing he's doing this, but he's also what, like 39, 40 years old. He can only keep this up for so, so long. They're both are injury prone. Obviously, LeBron understandable at this age of his, at this stage of his career. AD's always been injury prone. I don't trust the Lakers enough, to be honest. I got the Lakers at eight. Now, this is also a little bit tricky. You know what? I'm gonna put the Memphis Grizzlies here. I want to put them higher. The reason I do this is because Ja Morant is coming off a major injury, where he suffered injury. He had the suspension for 25 games with the whole Instagram stories with his guns, whatever he was doing there. Ja Morant's gonna have to load manage a little bit this season. You can't play him 80 games. He's gonna get injured. He didn't play a lot last season. You're really going to have to sit him. I do like the addition of Zach Edey. I will say that, though. I think that's an exceptional decision, a really bold one as well. But considering how good he looked in Summer League, I mean, maybe they found their long-term five. And if I think he could win the Rookie of the Year. That may help Memphis a lot. But for the time being, again, without Ja Morant, I do believe they're gonna struggle a bit without him. So I got him at the seventh position, sixth position here. You have to put the Phoenix Suns. I can't put them any higher or lower. I can't justify them putting over any of the other teams here as well. So again, I got the Phoenix Suns there. They did make some sneaky good moves here. They signed. I mix up the Jones. I know there's three Jones. There's another Jones, but they signed that Jones point guard. He's an underrated pickup, man. They finally got a point guard there. I believe they drafted one of the. I can't recall his name at the moment, but they drafted a really good defender in this year's NBA draft. Not saying he's going to be the major decision as to why they do so well. But I got the Phoenix Suns there. They're going to have some injuries. Yes, KD's older, Bradley Beal injury issues as well. But again, I do expect the Phoenix Suns to be a decent team as well. So let's see what happens with Phoenix. They could move a few spots down as well. With a fifth spot here, I'm going to put the Clippers. I'm going to put the Clippers. Kawhi is going to be injured, but one thing that's going to keep the Clippers afloat is we've seen James Harden surrounded by good role players, and we've seen what he's able to do. Even at his age, guys, believe me when I say this, he hasn't had the same scoring effect that he had in Houston. But what were people saying? And James Harden even came out and said it. He said, when I was scoring a lot, people wanted me to pass, and when I pass a lot, people are wanting me to score. Kind of they're talking about how his time with the 76ers went, and I believe he can score if he wants. It's just he's been on teams with Joel Embiid, with Paul George, Kawhi. He's not really expected to fill that role, but if Kawhi's injured, watch out for James Harden. I think he's going to score a lot, but also James Harden is going to have some issues as well. Similar to the Phoenix Suns, don't be surprised if the Clippers are a little bit lower than this. Fourth spot here, you know what? I'm going to put the Minnesota Timberwolves here. I know this seems kind of strange considering the season they had last year. I can't put them above some of the other teams. You could make the argument for Denver being maybe fourth or fifth, but because they lost KCP, they're just it's Jokic and Jamal and Michael Porter Jr. there. Not much else. Russell Westbrook. I mean, how much is he going to help the Denver Nuggets? I don't know. I honestly don't like that fit at all, if you ask me, because he needs the ball in his hands. Jokic needs the ball in his hands. Jamal needs the ball in his hands. Yes, they need someone to run the offense off of the bench, but I don't know about that. I don't know how I feel. So I'm putting the Denver Nuggets at 3 here. Number 2 here, I am going to put the Dallas Mavericks. I really like the Klay Thompson addition. So I mean, I think that addition is going to be spectacular. He's not the Klay Thompson of old. I think we can move past that, but there's no denying that he's still going to attract a lot of attention from defenses. And considering who they have in two ball handlers and Kyrie and Luca, you need those kind of players like Klay Thompson as well. So I think that's an excellent decision. Number one, it is the Oklahoma City Thunder. They got Isaiah Hartenstein. They got Alex Caruso. This team's so good. And they're number one. Those are my standings, guys. Let me know your thoughts down below. What do you think of these standings? And I know for the West, you can go a lot of different ways here. I'll go back to the East if you guys want to quickly see these before I end the video. But let me know your thoughts down below. Do you like these videos? Again, I'm kind of trying a new thing on my channel. Let me know if you like these. I'll maybe make a few more of these before the season starts. But let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. That will be it for today's video. So if you're still watching, guys, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button as well. And that will be it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. And I hope you guys have yourselves a great day.